George Parr, you are a counsellor at the British Embassy in Washington.
Yes, I am.
And you've been working very closely with the Americans on Iraq.
Yes, but it's not my fault.
Sorry, what isn't your fault?
Anything.
Well, I didn't suggest that anything was.
Well, I'm sorry, I've been under a lot of strain.
Well,
you know?
I'm sorry to hear that. Just very recently, the former head of the American Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, Alan Greenspan, just published his memoirs in which he said, and I quote, "I am saddened that it is politically inconvenient to acknowledge what everyone knows, that the Iraq war is largely about oil."
Well, I think I should point out, although it gives me no pleasure to do so, that Alan Greenspan is 81 years old.
Are you saying that it's not about oil?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Tony Blair himself said in the House of Commons,
yes,
he said the oil revenues, which some people falsely claim we want to seize, should be put in a trust account for the Iraqi people.
Yeah, this was in March 2003.
Yes, just before we invaded Iraq.
Yes, and in May 2003, Britain co-sponsored a resolution in the Security Council, Resolution 1483, which put Iraqi oil revenues under the control of Britain and America.
Yeah, yes, but by that time, you see, there was a war on.
Yes.
I mean, anything could have happened. I mean, Saddam Hussein could have run off with the oil.
Well, I mean, that's not very likely. It's in the ground, isn't it?
Well, so was Saddam Hussein.
Well, yes.
But in any case, there is going to be a new law in Iraq which will be ratified by the Iraqi parliament, which just sets out exactly what is going to happen to the Iraqi oil.
Yes, and who has written this law?
The Americans?
Yes.
Well, they know a lot about oil. I mean, they use more of it than anyone else in the world.
Yes, and who has seen the drafts?
Well, the people that matter. The people that matter have seen the draft are the American government, the World Bank, and, of course, the major oil companies.
Yes. Not, the Iraqis?
Sorry?
The Iraqis. Have they seen it?
The Iraqis. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, well, they're going to have to ratify it, you see, so they will see it at some point.
Yes. I
see. And it's a wonderful thing, because it gives no fewer than 17 of the known oil fields in Iraq to the Iraqi National Oil Company.
Really? 17? And
yes.
How many oil fields are there?
80.
80.
80, but that's only the known reserves, and they amount to about 115 billion barrels of oil.
And there are more than that, you think? It's somewhere in the...
Many more, yes. It's thought there to be around 220 to 300 billion barrels of oil.
And worth how much?
Well, at the present price, at about $30 trillion.
What sort of deal will the oil companies get under this new legislation?
Well, what will happen is that after recovering their development costs, obviously, the oil companies will keep 20% of the profits, and the rest will go to the Iraqi government.
It is a risk doing business, isn't it, in Iraq?
No, not to get the oil. Not at all, you see, because all the fields have been mapped, and there are no exploration costs, and the oil is just beneath the surface of the sand, so all you have to do is pump it out.
Yes.
Although I suppose they have to work with the Iraqi government.
Yes.
And in some ways, they might have preferred, in the best of all possible worlds, an Iraqi government that was strong.
Strong, yes. Would they not prefer that?
No.
No.
No, because if the Iraqi government was strong, they wouldn't get such a good deal for the oil.
Oh, yes.
And if it was very strong, the Iraqis might say, we'll nationalise the oil, and we'll look after it, and you must go away.
Go away, yes. But everybody agrees, don't they, really, that Iraq is now in a mess. And the reason it's in a mess has been the mistakes that the Americans have made since the invasion. I mean, that's generally agreed, isn't it?
What mistakes?
Well, I mean, I don't know, disbanding the Iraqi army, firing the civil service, alienating the population, the surge which inflamed the violence. Millions of middle-class Iraqis have left the country.
Yes, but by leaving the country, you see, the oil industry can't be run by that middle class.
No.
So it'll have to be run by the Americans.
Yes.
And also the violence justifies the Americans in building their bases.
Sorry, what bases?
Oh, they're building 5 permanent military bases in Iraq. Each will take about 20,000 troops. And the one that's already built, Balad, has next to Heathrow the busiest runway in the world.
You're not saying that all this, despite, or even including the hundreds of thousands of Iraqi deaths and thousands of American and British casualties, this is all part of an American plan, is it?
Well, I mean, what has happened is the situation is an excuse for the Americans to have their troops there.
So the mess, which we think of as a mess, isn't really a mess at all.
Well, if you call a mess sitting on a quarter of the world's oil and getting it cheaply for the next 30 years, I imagine it's a mess they're very happy to be in.
You know, so this can mean only one thing.
Only one thing. It means that George Bush is a genius.
Yes. George Farr, thank you very much.
Thank you.